Today's Focus Report takes us to Ukraine. It's been nearly 4 years since people there took to the streets and ousted pro-Russia President Viktor Yanukovych. But political corruption is still rife and is taking its toll on the country's economy. Former Georgian leader Mikheil Saakashvili, who now calls Ukraine home, is trying to galvanise the opposition and says he's the man to tackle this widespread corruption. Our correspondent Gulliver Cragg reports from Kiev.
A new protest camp has sprung up in Kiev. A bit like the one set up on Maidan Square in November 2013, but not really. It's much smaller and not on the square, but in front of the parliament, a kilometre away. It's manned largely by veterans of the ongoing war in eastern Ukraine and activists from one small party, that of Mikheil Saakashvili, the former Georgian president turned Ukrainian rabble-rouser.
We have to finish the work of Maidan. And you guys have to take power into your hands and away from them.
Ukraine's president granted Saakashvili citizenship in 2015, but cancelled it this summer amid acrimony. Border guards tried to prevent the now stateless Georgian from entering Ukraine in September, but his supporters took matters into their own hands. A week later, Saakashvili was in court to face charges of illegally crossing the border and to speak out against the government.
People are continuing to die for the idea of European Ukraine, and right now Ukrainian authorities are behaving exactly the way how a European state should not be behaving.
The session got off to an awkward start, though.
Громадянство українське. Громадянство і національність в європейському праві це не теж. Я грузин, дуже гордий грузин, але по національності паспорту я українець.
Mikheil Saakashvili is not just any Georgian. Some of his compatriots even call him the father of the nation. Over 10 years as president, he transformed a country that had been on the verge of collapse. Corruption fell, confidence in state institutions soared. But the president was also accused of failing to create jobs and crushing dissent. After he left power in 2013, the new administration charged him with abuse of office. He fled, only to resurface in Ukraine at the protests on Maidan Square, which forced the departure of a government seen as corrupt and beholden to Russia in early 2014.
You have defeated an empire that thought itself invincible.
Ukraine's new government made Saakashvili governor of the southern region of Odessa with its notoriously corrupt port. He promised to eradicate graft, just like he had done in Georgia. It didn't work out as planned, says Hannah Shelest, an Odessa-based analyst.
There were a lot of public and media events, a lot of statements about it, however, not a lot of the real actions, especially for the prevention. So he was okay with fighting, sometimes with brutal fighting of corruption, but not with the setting the daily system that can prevent corruption to be happening in the region.
On leaving Odessa, Saakashvili blamed vested interests and corrupt politicians, including the president, for blocking change. He's not the only one complaining. At this conference in Kiev, Ukraine's young reformists gave vent to their frustrations before an audience of international dignitaries.
Now, to be a member of parliament, you have to have $5 billion. 80% of members of parliament, they're running for parliament not to be politics, but to protect themselves, to protect their assets.
Members of Ukraine's parliament have immunity from prosecution. Most anti-corruption activists believe that has to end. They made this one of 3 key demands at a rally held on October the 17th.
Even when an MP is caught on video engaging in bribery, he's still treated like a respectable person. He attends parliament and nothing happens. We want to end this today.
Almost all of Ukraine's opposition forces attended the rally. Saakashvili's party was just one among many. But towards the end of the day, a group of activists arrived with army tents. They planned to make the action permanent, as Saakashvili had suggested.
In his country, he got rid of corruption, the only post-Soviet leader to do so. Us, we've yet to get on that Western path.
The next day, a few hundred protesters remained at the camp. As they listened on loudspeakers to the debate inside Parliament, Saakashvili mingled among them.
Right now, they're actually voting, so that's already progress.
The progress on cancelling immunity was limited, but enough to make most of the protest organisers suspend their action. Not Saakashvili, who stayed, determined to force early elections. He found himself surrounded mainly by war veterans and members of far-right nationalist groups. He doesn't mind their presence.
Ukraine is a country at war, a country that has been attacked, so of course it's not surprising that there are nationalists.
Yet both the nationalist groups and Saakashvili himself arouse suspicion among many Ukrainians, who wonder who is backing them.
We don't know for sure where these groups get their money from. There are various different theories, but what's clear is that they have got money. So this action must be to someone's advantage, though it's not clear who.
The latest protest has failed to draw big crowds or move to Maidan Square, where dozens died in 2014 for the same values Saakashvili is promoting. Today, less than 10% of Ukrainians support President Poroshenko, but it seems they no longer trust hot-headed revolutionaries either.